All right, now we're going to address the four knobs at the top of the atom. As you can see here, here's the atom. There are the four knobs at the top. Now, the important thing to remember is that they are by default assigned to several of the controls in Impact. I'm going to show you not only how to access them, but how to reassign them if you want to actually have them control different functions in both Impact and a third-party plugin. So let's go ahead and go here to the manual. So if you look at the manual, you can see that this is one of the first pages in it, and these are the sections divided up into colors, and we're going to concentrate on section 2, which is knobs 1 through 4, and these knobs transmit MIDI CC 14 through 17 respectively, and you can actually see more details on that in section 5.2. So let's go to the classroom, and here we are. You can see that we have Impact open right here, and I've got my Atom controller right here with the four knobs ready to control Impact. Now, there are a couple of things that you really need to know in order to make sure that everything is functioning correctly, and I got to tell you, I'm going to make a change here so that I can show you how to access it. There is something that really bit me when I first opened the Atom and hooked it up and tried to get the knobs to control the default controls because it just wasn't working. So with both of these sections here, you can see here's what it looks like by default. Okay, so up here in the corner, there is this area here called Focus Device. Now, this is important because I can control and hit my pads, but if I control my knobs, they don't control anything. And this, like I said, this really confused me at first. And then I figured it out, and it has to do with this here, the focus device. You can see a little pop up there, focus device. And the first thing you want to make sure of is that you are focused per plugin. So what's interesting about this is what you need is you need to have this yellow so that when you have multiple instances of Impact open, you have control over them individually. If you have this in a global mode, then when you make an adjustment to one Impact via control link, it's going to change all of your instances. So this is really important to have in focus mode, in this focus mode, the yellow focus mode. So, okay, so now on top of that, you can see here that my knobs are not controlling anything in Impact. The default settings are just not working. And the reason is because I haven't chosen my controller from this list. Now, there isn't an all inputs option like there is on the track. So you literally have to just go ahead into the focus mode, choose the Atom, and now watch the controls. I'm going to click on the kick pad. And I'm going to adjust, there we go, I can adjust my amplitude, I can adjust my pan. So let me go through what the default settings are for these pads, okay? So, or for these knobs. So here's the first knob right here. It controls the amplitude or the volume of your pad. And it's the same for each pad. Each pad has its own adjustment. So when you click on an individual pad or you hit an individual pad on your Atom, it will be a different adjustment for the amplitude as per your setting. There we go. All unique. So this is really for 8, 12, 16 control units here for each of the pads. So you have one control unit per pad. That's a lot of control. So let's go back to the kick here. I'm adjusting pad on knob number 1, and that's for the gain. Now, knob number 2 adjusts the pan. Let me bring my mouse over here so you can see it. Here is the pan control. That's knob number 2. Knob number 3 adjusts the transpose. These are what personas felt were the most common ones that you were going to go for. And then, of course, knob number 4, it's moving, but you got to really look for it. It's right down here. It is the decay setting right here. That's knob number 4. Beautiful. Okay, so now let's say that you don't want knob number 1 to control the volume because you're going to pretty much set it and forget it for the pad's volume. You want to go ahead and reassign knob number 1 to the cutoff here for the filter. Of course, you would have to turn that on for the individual pads, but we're going to go ahead and we want to set a universal control here for the filter using knob number 1. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to open up Control Link. We could use this section up here, okay? But we're going to go ahead. I'm going to show you how to use the control link option right here. You're going to click on this little cogwheel right here, and it turns blue. Boom, and it opens up an identical panel to the one up here in the upper left corner of Studio One. It's really nice because it moves with the plugin. So depending on what plugin you have, you've got its own little control link window. All right, so knob number 1, you can see it shows up in the second box right here, and you can see that it is controlling the focus mode for this gain for this pad. And I want to change that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect it. Done. So now when I move knob number 1, it doesn't do anything inside of impact at all because it's disconnected. So now what I want to do is I want to hook that knob up to this filter control. So I'm going to click once on the filter button. You can see that it shows up here in the window, but you got to do something since we're in focus mode. We just want to hit this little drop down and find the cutoff focus. Select that, click the little yellow caret, and now since we're in focus mode, you can see now knob number 1 controls the filter adjustment for every pad. And that's because we actually chose the focus mode. And there you have it. That is reassigning, and this works with third-party plugins. We could do the same thing. Let's go ahead and choose MT Power. Now, some plugins have controls that are available and some that aren't when you want to use control link. It's just the way the plugins are set up, so you'll have to test all of the different settings on your own. But for this example, here is a third-party plugin. Excuse me. Here's a third-party plugin. And we're going to go ahead and open up the mixer. And let's say we want to control the volume here on the main kick here. And what we're going to do is if I move this, you see that our control link window is still open. We still have the atom in focus mode. And as we control this here, we are controlling the volume for the kick. And I'm going to move knob number 1. You can see knob number 1. There's knob number 2, 3, 4. They're all changing up here as I hit the different knobs. But I want knob number 1. There we go. So now, since these aren't connected, let's see first if there's a focus mode for this fader. If I drop down this thing here. No, there isn't. Okay, that's good. So we're just going to go ahead and go back, and I'm going to connect that volume for that right there. And there you have it. You can now set these controls at the top, or the knobs at the top of the atom, to a bunch of different controls inside of your third-party VST. Now, of course, there's only 4 knobs, so this is really good for automation if you want to use the atom for your automation setting. But there you have it. That is the way to do this. Now, you might be asking, why is there no focus mode on here? Well, if you remember, in Impact, there were multiple pads with multiple controls. So you've got to make sure that you are in focus. You can see that this still controls the filter. And let's see, if I go back to MT Powers, it's still controlling that track. Yeah, see, it remembers. So if I had a couple of different instances of MT Power open, it would control the kick on each of those instances individually. Yeah, I know. It's a lot. But you have, when Persona says total control, you have total control. And that, folks, is how to set up and use the default modes for your control knobs there on the atom. I showed you how to set it up, how to access the defaults in Impact, how to change the defaults in Impact, and how to assign them in a third-party plugin. That's about as complete as you're going to get. Remember, the details are in 5.2 in that section in the manual if you want more details on the knobs controls and their MIDI CC assignments. And I will see you in the next video.